Go.
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 Now. All right, welcome back,
Go.
traders. Everything's late, nobody dies. Episode 20. We're in the 20s.
Whoa.
20s. We've been doing this for 20 weeks.
20 years we've been...
20-something.
20 weeks we've been doing this. I ain't 22 weeks. We missed 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it for 22 weeks.
Yeah, we had convention last week.
But, you know, I mean, as much as we talk, we can... as much as we talk to each other, like, all the time, we can pull an Amazing Fantasy and say, this is episode 1000. We can count everything else.
So,
okay, there we go. Yeah,
all the time that we've been seen separately count
Mm-hmm.
in the count.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why this one's double-sized. It's going to cost you $8. Usually they're free.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that was a pretty good book.
That was fun, wasn't it? I like that. I really like that.
Right.
I like the Neil Gaiman one a lot. Huh?
That was a good one. A couple of them were okay.
A couple of them were average.
But
it's an anthology.
Well, see, this is the thing. What was it, 6 stories? And about half of them were okay, average, and then the other half were really good. So
yeah.
Nothing really fell flat.
I mean, there's no crap story in it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which is good. Anyhow, yeah, it was good. I liked it. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. I like the kind of throwback feel of some of the stories, kind of going back to the roots of the spider mythologies.
Yeah, and it felt like I was reading a 70s or 80s Spider-Man book, and I really liked that. That was fun. That was really cool.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad those don't seem to be the kind of books that people gravitate to. There's nothing in it that's going to be groundbreaking and is going to show up on TV on Disney Plus. So it's never going to be a $120 book in a 9.8, so nobody's going to buy it.
That's the thing. And it wouldn't have sold like it did if Neil Gaiman didn't do a story.
Oh, yeah.
That would not have sold. I'd forgotten that he was even doing anything until somebody came in. Do you have that Neil Gaiman Spider-Man book? And I'm like, anyway, no. Neil Gaiman is just he's you put his name on it, it's a sales tool.
Yeah,
immediately it's gonna sell.
Well, even people that aren't into comic books are real familiar with his work from his novels. And my daughter didn't know that he did comic books and graphic novels.
Well, he was kind of ashamed of it for a while. And you would go to his website and it would say novelist Neil Gaiman. And then that's how, Neil Gaiman is a novelist from England and blah, 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 and at the bottom it would, paraphrasing, but at the bottom it would be like, oh yeah, also some comics.
Right.
But now, I mean, now those comics are pushing. Sandman is nuts right now.
Yeah.
So, of course he's going to play that up now.
Well, I think it's really interesting how people are, we're back into a renaissance for that golden age of comic books. We have creators coming in. I think 10 years ago when we started seeing Kevin Smith trying to write for Daredevil and
which I liked. I liked that story.
It was okay.
I thought it was good. I thought the Green Arrow stuff was much better.
And I haven't read any of the Green Arrow stuff, and I've heard that it's a lot better. But I think that coming off of Miller's Daredevil, anything's going to pale in comparison.
I don't know, man. Brubaker's was pretty awesome.
It was okay.
And Bendis's was pretty awesome.
Bendis did a really good job. I don't think that Kevin Smith is really, and I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, but he is really wordy.
That's our Kevin Smith counter. Okay.
But he's real wordy. He's really heavily dialogue driven.
Yeah.
In everything he does. So
he's almost,
and that's why Cop Out was so great.
He's almost like Chris Claremont, but with weed and penis jokes.
Yeah.
It's just like blah 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 blah, smoke some weed, blah 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 blah. Dick.
Where I was going is, so you've got the Kevin Smith and then Straczynski and Abrams doing Spider-Man.
Damon Lindelof. Lindelof doing stuff.
And it has all kind of gone downhill. with these A-list writers.
A lot, yeah.
But now you're seeing a lot of resurgence in that with Gaiman and Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Andy
Patton Oswalt.
Serkis.
Patton Oswalt has one out right now. You know, but these seem to me like these are comic geeks.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like some guy that does whatever. You know, Bruce Campbell's written comics before.
Right.
They
and he's got a nice collection. Good. He's got a nice collection.
They weren't good. Man with the Screaming Brain was not good. It was fun. You know, Kevin Smith. No, sorry. I'm trained now. It's like Pavlov's Greg, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, he's written comics before. Andy Serkis obviously is got to be somewhat of like, you know, a comic
Serkis
or a
is a
fantasy
big
or whatever.
Batman, DC Universe fan.
Uh-huh.
Bruce Campbell, a lot of like that pre-code and atomic era sci-fi stuff. He's really into.
I mean, not to mention every Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and if you notice
that Sam Raimi did, sorry.
I mean, even writing for a comic is completely different than writing a script or writing a novel. Stephen King cannot write a decent comic book.
Yeah.
Like his comics fall flat.
George Romero's
but
terrible.
his sons are.
Joe Hill can kill it.
Yeah,
he's so
brilliant.
Good. Yeah. George Romero did a comic series and unfortunately was really bad. Toe Tags. Yeah, it was sad. It bummed me out, but it wasn't good at all. But this is so much fun.
Yeah, this is a great book.
This is great.
I'm glad I picked it up.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to at first because I'm like, Sergeant Rock and Zombies. That's kind of not my gig. The only book I've read so far this week, because you were recommending it so highly, and it's awesome.
It's really fun.
It's really a great read.
And that's what I like. And I like that it's fun. You know, there's not. We're missing a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Jason.
Hey.
Didn't even recognize you with your clothes on.
It happens.
I've asked you not to bring that up when I'm in the store.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, usually he has bike stuff.
That is true. I'm
Yeah.
spandexed out.
Yeah, he's spandexed out. He looks like he's like trying out for the Avengers. He's doing great, man.
No, I'm counting on you for a referral, and I haven't heard anything.
I know. I'm trying. So yeah, just cut everything out except hi, Jason. I didn't recognize you with your clothes on. Okay. Anyhow, next.
All right, so barcodes. Like you're not a fan.
I don't care. They don't make a difference.
So it's been a long held belief that newsstand editions hold value or should have a higher resale value, and I do understand where you're coming from, and what sparked this is you got the new Overstreet, and you saw something in there that kind of
had a separate
the wrong way.
And it had a separate listing for Spawn 1 and then Spawn 1 Newsstand Edition. And there was like a $75 difference.
Right.
Which there should not be. Especially with that book. There's so many copies. I mean, it shouldn't be a $50 book anyway. It should be a $10 book. You know, and to have a newsstand copy of Spawn 1 at $125 at $9.2, that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, first of all, there was what, 3.6 million, some crazy number of those printed. Like it was insane.
Yeah.
And certainly top 5, so in the millions. And so I've had that discussion with quite a few people, whose opinion I really respect. Not that I don't respect yours, but
no, go on.
I mean, I do, and I know that you disagree with this part of the equation, but when we're talking in the millions on a print run, I don't think that $50 for that book is out of line. I don't think that that's too out of line. I think that $1,000 for a 9.8 of that book is stupid, but I don't think $50 for a raw copy on that book is too far out of line. because you look at damages and lost books over the years and things like that, and the sheer number of people that are collecting right now worldwide. Like, we were selling books to a U.S. audience in 1990, and those 3 million copies were going out to maybe maybe 750,000 people were buying 3 million copies.
Yeah.
But now, worldwide, we've got well over 2 million people collecting worldwide.
Yeah.
In foreign markets.
And
So-
I think, I think $10 would be a fair price for that. I think $25 to $30 maybe would be as high as I would
I think,
feel would be good.
and I think $30 is where the book should be. I don't think 50 is out of line, but $30 is where I'm most comfortable with
Right.
for that
Yeah.
that particular book. But this is where we differ. I do feel, especially on that book, and there's a few other examples, I do feel that a newsstand in a high grade should hold a premium. And not be a premium as in, if the book's a $30 book, that premium should be $30. I think that premium should be $120.
Yeah, I just don't see it. No, I don't see it, and it's, and I get a lot of people in here that want newsstand and direct editions of everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? They'll come in and they'll buy that, and I think that's cool. That's great, man. But it is the same book, and if that, I think it leads us to a problem, and if that book is going to have a $75 difference from a newsstand to a direct edition. And how can you hand pick everything that's going to be newsstand or direct edition? Like, how do you hand pick? Oh, okay, this one is, that one's not. It's either got to be all or none.
See, and I don't think that's how collecting works, because the reason why that particular book, and I'm gonna single out that one book, the reason why that one is so different is because out of the 3 million that were printed, the largest portion of them were printed as directs, and they were going to comic book shops and places like that to be sold as directs, because they knew that those collectors were going to buy multiple copies.
Yeah.
The newsstands were then distributed to the 7-Elevens, the newsstands, places like that. And when that happens, that smaller pool that were newsstands then got handled more, because they weren't put in bags and boards. They were handled by kids while their mom was shopping at Harmon's.
But it's the same book.
But it's not. Like, there's a physical difference in the books. Like a quantifiable physical difference in the book.
I would disagree. And I think the only ones that are a physical difference that should be worth different amounts are, like a Wildcats 2. The shiny one is direct. The non-enhanced one was a newsstand. When they did the newsstand versions that were not enhanced, like the Excalibur 71,
Right.
the X-Men 25, and all that stuff, and when they do that, and there is a difference, like an actual difference in the book besides just a UPC or not, then I can see it. But if there's a UPC on it, or if there's not, man, I would rather, okay, if you were talking collecting, I would rather have the Spawn #1 without the UPC, because you can see the whole damn cover. Why is it worth more if something obscure is part of the cover?
I
seem
think
right.
As far as my personal collection goes, so my personal collection, I have one of each in really high grade. But if I had to choose for a personal collection, I would choose the direct, because I don't think that cover should be obscured by the barcode.
Right. Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that the ones that had the barcode were a shorter print run, which should make it worth more. And
I guess, but they're all still first prints.
but that aside, not only were there fewer of them produced with the barcode, but the ones that were had a higher rate of damage.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a Spawn #1 first print.
Right.
You know, and now if they're, and my thing is like, you know, how far are we going to go with this? This is the beginning of something that I feel uncomfortable with.
Well, and this is the drawback to doing this, right?
Is everything.
You would have to take every single book ever produced on an individual basis.
Yeah.
And some collectors will. I mean, I do. I have, so you know, I've completed my Defenders run, my Volume 1 Defenders run.
Yeah.
I am now very close to completing the whole thing in Newsstand. So I actually have 2 Defenders runs, a direct and a Newsstand.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I'm ever going to do that with, and I have to be a completionist on that run. I don't know why. I just have.
We had a a question about this from somebody.
But it was denied because that question was wrong. That was wrong.
No, did you read the question?
Yeah, I did.
You should read the question and see what.
But they were wrong.
Do you want me to read it?
They said.
What was the question from our audience?
A question from an audience member. Guy right over there. They want to know how completely wrong Greg is.
No, that is not what happened. No, they want to say, we had a question from an audience member. They want to know how come Greg is correct on this issue.
I'm not...
They write like me. That's weird. They got the same handwriting as me.
But the thing is Greg correct? Because, like, if we go back to...
I mean, I think we're both correct in our own little ways, you know? And with Spawn, okay, man. I will acquiesce and say, okay, fine. I don't agree with it. The Spawn Newsstand is my Second Amendment of comics. It's like, okay, I don't agree with it, but it's what it is, so whatever. Okay.
Well, there's so many factors to consider on that particular book.
Yeah.
Because Todd wasn't an idiot, right? He came out and Todd McFarlane was like, well, I know that if I put 1 million of these books out, I'm going to sell 1 million copies and I'll be sold out and we'll have to go to a second printing. If I put 2 million out, I'm going to sell 2 million, we'll go to a second printing. If I put 3 million out, I can put, 750,000 of those in the 7-Elevens, and my comic book geeks and the people that are speculating, the bro collectors are going to buy that other 2,250,000 copies out of comic book stores.
Yeah.
And because they're buying 20 copies each.
Yeah.
To me, and honestly, that right there, to me, makes the Newsstand more valuable, because those books were intended to get into the hands of people that are collectors that want to collect that particular book. Yeah. Where the bro collectors went to LCS to buy the best copy they could to stock away for their kids.
Yeah. I like I said, I mean, I'll
agree to disagree.
No, he's agreeing that I'm correct. So you need to hearse up.
Excuse me. I'm allergic to your bullshit. No, and I'll move a little bit to your side on the Spawn one. Still not convinced, but I will move a little bit to your side on that one. Or if it really does have a big difference in the book, if it's enhanced versus non-enhanced, if it is, if it's got a different cover, if it's got, because the Fantastic Fours for a while and the Newsstand ones, and these are the ones that I feel should be in the book, not the Spawn one. I feel the Fantastic Four Newsstand ones, and because they're different covers.
Yeah, they should definitely
on the
be
bottom it said Fantastic Four. On the Newsstand ones, not only are they a different price on the Newsstand, they were like $2.99, and the comic ones were $2.25, I believe, or $2.50, or something like that. Not only were they a different price, but they had the banner up at the top. It said Fantastic Four. You know, like they switched the design of the cover. Thanks, Jason. See, there you go. Yeah, you know, I mean, I just feel like, you know, when it comes down to it, yes, it's the same book. You know, and there's always going to be people that are going to collect both versions. You know, and I think that's great, man. You know, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you do. It's like the X-Men stuff when they did the deluxe and the non-deluxe ones with the different paper.
Right.
You know, I wanted the deluxe ones because they were better.
Or even the DC stuff with the A and B covers, the cardstock variants.
Right, yeah. You know, but it's like, okay, if it is a different book, like entirely, you know, or, you know, like that, perceptible with something besides a barcode on it. I get it, man. I get it. But like I said, man, it messes up, it kind of messes up the cover on that book.
I think it does.
You know, because
it definitely messes up the cover on the book.
So why doesn't the one with the better cover, why isn't that worth more? I know, because there's not as many. I know that. But in my mind, it's like that should be worth more.
Right.
But
well, and it's really odd that what happens is if they would have put that barcode on the back of the book and kept the same exact looking front, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, true.
And it's bizarre to me that is how people determine value of these books.
Yeah.
And
so you're saying I'm right?
No, because I really believe that book. I really believe that book deserves a premium. Okay. And it's not the only one. There's other newsstand books throughout the '80s that I think deserve a premium. Hulk 181. I think a newsstand should deserve a premium on that. Only in high grade. I mean, a low grade.
I mean,
version,
is there even a direct one on that?
Yeah.
I don't think there was back then. Wasn't there in the 70s?
Oh, that might have been a little.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there was back then. I think that stuff started maybe late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, it was in the 80s, I'm sure.
And because it had like the little Spider-Man head or whatever in there, you know, or whatever. And I mean, you know, again, the non-newsstand has got a little extra thing on there. It's got extra artwork.
Right.
Yeah, you know, like the Spider-Man ones, Todd McFarlane drew a little web with the number or whatever it was, you know. That seems to me like it should be. If you're going to do any of them as more, if it's got extra art on it, that seems like that should be the one that would.
Well, the reason this whole debate started is I mean, it's been going around for a while, but it really has gotten big in the last few years. It's because one of the big name comic book YouTube guys came on and expressed his opinion, and he's not wrong, that if you get a newsstand edition in good condition, and condition's everything when you're talking about this subject,
right?
Because the majority of those books were mistreated before they even got in the hands of a collector. So if you can get a high grade, you know, anything above a 9.2 and newsstand from the 80s, then you really have something, because most of those were just beat to hell.
Well, okay, all right. What it comes down to though is if there's one that is beat to hell, and in a very good minus, it shouldn't make a difference, but it still does in the price guide.
But it should. I don't think it should, but the prices, when you get into price guides and stuff like that, that's determined by the overall input of the community. So that is ultimately, that's the democratic way to determine these prices. The collectors are speaking with their money. They're going out to eBay and they're paying more for something they shouldn't, but that's what determines that value.
I would be okay if they made a note in there, you know, with the Spawn one, and said newsstand newsstand value. Like they've done notes in there with stuff
Right.
before where they don't have a value on it. I would be okay if they put a note in there, that said, okay, up to a 9.2, there's no value difference. There have been books that have sold for a certain amount in 9.8 or 10 or 9.6 or whatever. If they made a note in there and said, people are paying more for the very high grade ones, I would be okay with that. And I just don't think that a 3.0 or a 4.0 in a guide should be the same, whether it's, or it should be different based on a barcode. I just don't think it should be. Like a real higher grade, and I can understand that, and that can be malleable, depending on what market value might be with that. And as much as I don't like market value with a lot of stuff, you have to do a market value with some CGC stuff, you know what I mean? And you have to do a market value with some things that are a little different. And you have to use that occasionally, and I get that, I understand that. But I mean, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. And what really kills me is the fact that we will get a premium on a newsstand edition of a book. And the reason, so you go to buy one, you say, so why is that book 3 times more?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because it's a newsstand and fewer of them were printed and a lot of them got damaged, blah, 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 whatever. And it's always the reason they give is for one reason or another, there are fewer of them available than direct edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I can buy into that logic. So if that's how we look at comic books, then why is it that A covers are worth more than a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 50?
Yeah.
Because those are shorter prints. Store variants should be worth more. If they're only printing 1,000 of a book compared to a 10,000 print run on an A cover, why do store variants tank?
I mean, why is Welcome to Bleakhaven not a $500 book? Because there's so much less of those than there are the new Batman. It's so much more difficult to get.
Right.
I mean, you can't go on. I mean, yeah, it's a tough. Boy, that's a tough rabbit hole.
It really is.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm afraid of. Is this happening based on that grade for that book? People are going to see that, and then they're going to be like, oh, well, I got a Spawn 2 that's a newsstand, so that's worth 4 times as much. So, well, but I got a Spawn 3, and that has a newsstand, and it's going to be worth 4 times as much because there's so many less of those than there. Like why isn't Spawn 3 worth 5 times more than Spawn 1 if we're talking about scarcity?
Right.
Because there wasn't even close to 3 million of those printed. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, the scarcity, it's always supply and demand, how many there are, how many you can get, all that kind of stuff. And that's the business. And I get that. I understand that. Obviously, I understand that. This is what I do, right? But that can't be the sole determination for a value on everything. It just can't.
Right.
And if we do that, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, and it also brings into question the validity of our institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Overstreet's an institution in our hobby. Like, do we question Overstreet now because they are getting into a territory that can be subjective?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're talking about all of it, all of the short print runs, the newsstands, errors, recalled books, that could be extremely subjective.
Yeah. And then what do you start doing then? Then you're like, oh, okay, well, there were 200 of these books that the staples were wrong. They were put in the wrong way.
Right.
Okay, well, that's a damaged book. Well, no, it's an error. Well, technically it is. Technically, I get a stack of variants from Diamond every week when they're bent and they're torn,
right?
And
right.
some of them don't have covers. Those could be variants. That's a one of a kind, man. It's
or
scarce.
the Todd McFarlane Spawn variant. The error in the print run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was only on directs. There's no newsstands with that.
Yeah.
But we don't know, and that, in some people's eyes, that's a premium. You're going to pay more because it's. But there's probably more of the defective ones than the correct ones.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's,
shouldn't the
that's
correct
the thing
one
with what is Secret Wars with Galactus, right?
the Blue Galactus?
Yeah, there's more of those than there are not.
I've never seen a red Galactus in Secret Wars 1. And
I don't remember seeing one.
I've pressed hundreds of them, and every one of them is an error. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a not error out there.
I think that should be tougher to find.
I would think so.
You know, I mean,
Unless people just aren't sending them in. But I have literally pressed 100 of them in the last year.
Well, you know, I mean, I did have one that a customer turned in to CGC. He had the regular one and he had the error one, and they refused to grade them differently.
I'm not sure if they recognize the error on it.
They did. I got with them and said, no, there was an error on this. And they said, no, there's no difference.
Because that should be getting a green label.
Guess it should, yeah. You know, and they said, no, there's no difference.
I mean, again...
They refused to regrade it with a different label, or they refused to even put a note on the label. No, they said, no, there's no difference. There's actually more of those, so it's not rare. And I said, well, why don't you make a note on the other one then, that it's not an error, and that's more rare. And they said, because there's no difference between the book.
Well, the difference
Well, the difference is...
they're dropping the
one of
pigment.
them's done incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what green labels are there for.
Right, yeah.
Not to wrap around your acetates.
Didn't know where that was going for a second. I'm glad you finished that word.
Acetate.
Well, if I wrapped it around my own acetate, would I be worth more? Hi. Yeah, so, yeah, you know, that is, I mean, man, that is such a tricky thing, you know, because you've got the, you know, error cards in baseball.
Right.
You know, and if they're recalled, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? But if they're not recalled, what's the difference? Like, you know, it's not an error card, it's just a card. You know, like if the comics are not recalled, it's just some of them that were colored incorrectly.
Yeah.
I mean, I get stuff all the time that has different shades. Every week,
right?
There's different shades of printing on
And
there.
then what about miscuts?
Yeah, what about them?
Extra staples.
Yeah, I mean, how far are we getting into this?
Yeah, it could get insane.
Yeah, you know, and that's
sure.
you know, that's my fear, is we've opened up a Pandora's box, you know, and I'm going to get people that come in here, and I have, you know, and I'm like, well, that's a $10 book, and they're like, no, it's a newsstand copy, it's worth $50. I'm like, no, it's not. And I open up the book, and there's no difference in there, and they said, well, I can sell it on eBay for $50. And I said, well, why are you here?
Right.
Because you know I'm not going to give you more than a book's worth. You know I'm not going to give you what a book's worth. I'm a retail store. You know, we don't pay retail. I mean, you know, do you think that you go into, you know, Macy's and get a $2 loaf of bread, and they paid $3 for it, and they're going to lose $1 because just that's worth that? No, that is not how the retail world works. It's just not, you know. And I'm afraid we might be getting into a place like that. You know, and that, you know, and any difference anybody sees on anything, you know, they're like, oh, that's an error copy. Oh, that's a newsstand copy. Oh, this is a miscolored one. Oh, that's a miscut one. Oh, this somehow has 9 staples in it. Oh, this has a staple on the wrong side. It's like, well, yeah, man, but it's at the end of the day, it's a book, and I want to read it, and if it's stapled incorrectly, I can't read it.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? And it's like, can we start making our own error copies like acetate? Can we start stapling in the other side and saying, oh, look at that? Well, it's so crazy what they did, man. You know, when are we going to see this? When is it going to stop? When are we going to see it start? And is it going to ruin stuff?
I think the part of this that gets kind of scary for me is we used to be able to rely on Overstreet to give us the definitive answer on the value of a book.
Yeah, we can no longer do that.
They had a huge process that they went through. I mean, it was where they get input from multiple sources, they average it out, and they look at it. all these factors, and that's why it only came out once a year. Now we've got Overstreet Online updated in real time. We've got Cover Price Online updated in real time, and they're taking, basically they're letting eBay set the value of our books.
Yeah, they are.
And I get where people are coming from, where the bro collectors come from when they say this is what it's selling for on eBay. That's what it's worth.
No, I understand that, and that's what it's worth yesterday at 2:35 p.m. Yeah,
Right. But I don't.
Tomorrow
think
at noon,
that's-
it couldn't be worth. It could be worth nothing.
Yeah, I don't think that that's an accurate. Like that's a snapshot in time, but overall, that's not an accurate representation of what that book is truly worth.
Yeah, and that's not what it's worth to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to sell it for that, and that's not what it's worth to me. That's what it may be worth to that person that sells it to you on eBay, or that buys it from you on eBay. That's obviously what it's worth to them.
Well, a great example of that is just yesterday we were in here with a couple of the guys, and we were talking about Wolverine 88.
Yeah.
And Wolverine 88 right now, at the time, I haven't looked at it today, but at the time yesterday, Key Collector had it listed for $50. A $50 book. And one of the guys is like, yeah, I just picked that up in here yesterday. And I asked him how much he paid for it. So the day before, he bought this $50 book in your shop with a $5 price tag.
Yeah.
On sale for $2.50.
Yep. Right.
And you don't care.
I don't care.
Like you priced it a year ago, whatever, for $5, and you had it on sale, sold for $2.50, and it's a $50 book if it's sold today.
If it's sold right now.
Yes, but
Right now.
next week, is it going to be a $50 book?
Or is it going to be unsellable?
It's probably going to be down to 20. It may, by the time Deadpool 3 hits the screens, it's going to be a $5 book.
Well, you know, and I would expect it with the next Overstreet to go up. I'll bet it'll be at 20.
It will.
I'll bet it'll be 20 or 25.
And there's just so much that goes into having, because it's not just what you can get for a book right now.
Yeah.
That sets that value. You have to look at print runs, characters, storylines.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and look, okay, look at it this way, right? What is worth, what's worth more if you want to go with print runs? Now, we're not talking about surviving copies. We're talking about anything, okay? If we're just going off print runs, what's going to be worth more? A Walt Disney Comics 100 or, say, a Batman 127 that came out last week? Walt Disney Comics 100 is going to be worth a lot more.
Right.
Those were printed in the millions. Millions.
Yeah.
Batman 127, what, 120,000 maybe? Maybe. If that. You know what I mean? So, okay, Batman 127 is scarcer. Okay, well, it's scarcer. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. There's not as many out there.
Right.
And, you know, oh, should I sell it for cover price? And this is where you get into this problem. Should I sell it for cover price? Because it's going to go up. Well, everything's going to go up. Everything that comes out is going to go up.
Eventually.
Eventually.
100 years from now, every book on the shelf over there is going to be worth something.
Yeah. You know, about 2 or 3 years from now, man, half of those books are going to be $1 or $2 more, at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? So do I sell them based on that, or do I sell them what they're worth now? You can't, I mean, you just can't do that. I think we're getting into a very problematic area with this, you know, and that is more, you know, more than, more important than my belief that it's the same book and there should be a difference. That's my main factor of worry with this, is it's opened the floodgates.
Well, I think those floodgates have been open for a few years now. I mean, people have been chasing, and Jace constantly talking about Spawn #1 Newsstand.
Yeah.
And his Venom second and third appearances.
Yeah.
In Newsstand. So.
And, you know, and if that's, you know, if that's your thing, I mean, if that's your favorite thing, if Venom is your favorite thing and you want all of those, newsstand and, you know, direct, okay, cool, man. But God, man, you're going to be chasing stuff forever.
But are we creating a world in which we're chasing windmills? So, you know, he wants an ASM. Oh, no, that's Chad. Wants an ASM 300 newsstand.
Yeah.
He purchased a direct from me for like $1,000 a while ago, and he wants the newsstand too. But people are not parting with that book because it's a newsstand. They're not going to part with that book for less than $5-6 grand. Because it's
I actually might have a newsstand one. Mine might be a newsstand.
I mean, it's insane.
Mine might be a newsstand. If mine's a newsstand, I'm selling it and buying a direct.
I don't think there's much of a difference on that book. I think you're about equal on print run between newsstand and direct.
But if people are going to pay 3 times more, then yeah, I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
And buy the regular one. Why not?
That's one that you get a premium for a newsstand edition. Any of those.
Or I'll buy a very fine and have you press it out.
$298, $299, $300, $301.
Yeah.
Those are all newsstands that will get you a premium. And what people don't think about, I get they were mistreated, whatever. Back at that time, I mean, I can speak to this because I owned a comic shop at that time. If you didn't sell, you sent them back. Mm-hmm. So if you did 500,000 in direct and 500,000 were newsstand, the newsstands couldn't send theirs back.
Yeah, now it's just the opposite.
But direct buyers could.
Yeah. Now it's the opposite of that.
Really, your direct copies, there should be fewer of those in circulation.
Yeah.
So it all balances out on a book like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird.
I mean, those are, again, just factors that we have to look at. So
it's weird, man. I don't know.
It's an interesting debate, and I don't think that there's anything going to really be solved on it as long as we have people trying to push whatever they have on hand.
Right. And, you know, and I feel like that's more of what it is.
I think that's a large part of it.
You know, it's like, oh, man, this is what I have, and it's different than what you have, so mine's worth more.
I mean, it's like She-Hulk #1, where the direct doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we paying more for a newsstand? Well, that's your only option is a newsstand.
Yeah, right.
So don't tell me that it's worth more because it's a newsstand, because it's really not.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because there's no such thing as a direct
edition. It's a newsstand edition.
They all were.
Yeah.
Like, at least as far as I know, I've never seen a direct on that book.
No, I haven't either. I think that was one of them. I think that was one of them that they didn't have the directs yet.
Probably not.
No, because I mean that did start with the rise of comic shops.
Yeah.
You know, in order to distinguish, you know, oh, you got this from this distributor and that from the, you know, I mean, and all it really is a different distributor. That's all it means.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well. You get this one through a news agency. You get this one through a comic distributor. That's all. You know, and they have, and the reason they did that initially, is because no comic shops had barcode readers.
Right.
Yeah, and you needed to have those barcodes still on the newsstand ones, so they could scan it, you know, throw it in a bag, and say, "Here you go."
Well, and all of my newsstands with barcodes on it came from Harmon's in North Ogden, and at that time they didn't have barcode. Like, I don't know of any store in Utah that did.
Yeah.
Maybe in Salt Lake there were a couple, but
we were
certainly
pretty
not
special.
Ogden.
We were rich here. We had our own. We had barcode readers.
It was all up on the benches.
Yeah, they were like boom boxes. They were like this big though, so they had to pick them up and be like. That's why they didn't use them. They're so big. They're like old cell phones.
But the last thing I wanted to mention on this, it's kind of a side tangent, is the DC Directs. I don't know if you know what the DC Directs are, but they are DC Comics that down in the corner where the barcode is, it says DC Direct on it.
Mm-hmm.
And those are technically they're reprints.
The ones that say DCU.
Yeah, DCU, DC Universe.
Yeah.
Because they used a bunch of overstock to fill 3-packs at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So they were, as far as short run, those are probably the shortest run of the barcode type variants that are out there.
Yeah. The Whitmans too.
Yeah, Whitmans are a shorter run.
But see, I understand why those are different prices.
Whitmans are a completely different cover. In my opinion.
Yeah, I get that, man, because the corner is totally different, you know.
Right.
But then, oh my God, man! But then you start, before they even had the difference with that, you had the diamond in the corner box,
Right.
which signified they were from, diamond from a
Right.
shop. But they still had the barcodes, didn't they?
I
At
think
first,
so.
I think they did.
I think they did. Yeah. I think
And so now we're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
It just gets ugly, and I don't want it to get ugly, And I mean, I can just foresee more arguments.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it. That's
in
all.
the end, like they say, it's all what somebody's going to pay for something.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's all about the value you assign to something is all about what you have available. If you're selling something, so to me, the very best copy of No Heroin #1 is the Hive Comics variant. Why? Because Jonathan just gave me 20 of them as a thank you.
Yeah.
So to me, that's worth a lot of money. So
Yep.
let's get those out for $20 a piece.
And if you're an Overstreet advisor, you could say that.
Very true.
Kind of like the
Very
old
true.
Wizard days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I also think it's a little suspect to have 4 pages of comic shop owners, being like, let me tell you what this is worth.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, man, I got a huge stack of the, Lock and Key Sandman #2.
Right.
Because the first one sold really well, and then the second one didn't. And
Yeah.
people were like, well, I don't want this crossover, man. I just want Lock and Key, or I just want Sandman. And it wasn't what they expected, right? So if I'm an Overstreet advisor, because I got 100 copies of that thing, I'm going to say that #2 is worth more. So I can get rid of the damn things and make some money.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like they did that with Wizard. Shop I worked for a long time ago just did when Wizard was coming out, and they did an experiment, and they were like, okay, yeah, I'm going to say that this book is worth $20. And they filled out the little survey thing,
Right.
and they sent it in. The next month, that book was $20 in Wizard.
Yeah.
And they're doing that so they can sell copies of Wizard, so people be like, ooh, what did this go up to?
Well, and we see a lot of that happening in real time because now we have these big YouTube channels, these influencers that are pushing those values.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this, these guys are friends of mine, like personal friends of mine, but they can affect the markets. Your Comic Toms, your Buellers, Reggie, all these guys can.
And I have no
affect the
problem
market.
agreeing with you because I have no friends. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to lose any. It's fine.
I mean, I don't feel that that's what happened. The barcode thing came about because Tom genuinely feels like I do that they should be worth more because they're more scarce, and he enjoys that whole dynamic of those.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing it to make money or push the books.
He's not trying to manipulate anything,
that
I
could
don't think.
very easily
but
happen.
It could, yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, again, and that gets me worried on what kind of line we set ourselves up for.
Right. So let us know what you think. Chime in. Let us know what you think about newsstands versus direct. Does the barcode, in your opinion, does the barcode make a difference? I know, Tommy, you got something to say about everything. Let us know. Let us know.
We got a comment from a member of the audience. Oh, sorry. We already did that. I am so sorry. Okay, anyway.
No, Tommy, we've gotten in some great conversations. He's from over in Europe. And, yeah. little bit different collecting environment over there, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'll bet it'll be interesting to hear
discuss with
all
him.
that stuff. Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to read. I read this book this week, so that's obviously my pick. It's a great book, and you enjoyed it. So we've got Beck's pick of the week.
Who's Beck?
Beck is our hero,
Okay.
and House of Slaughter #9.
Oh, Beck works for me.
Hard, diligently.
That's right. I am so sorry. God, they're right over there. Come here, Beck.
Let's
Come
introduce
here.
Beck. Let's make him a rock star.
Come on, get over here. No, not like that. Get in there, like Freddy. Okay, up.
That's creepy.
There you go.
though.
Good boy.
So
There you go.
House of Slaughter.
House of Slaughter.
Yeah. Have you read this one?
I haven't read them yet. I haven't read any of them yet.
I'm about
so far behind on
I'm
everything.
about
It's just
3
dumb.
episodes behind on that one.
Yeah.
So tell us about House of Slaughter. What's going on?
It's a lot more interesting than the last story arc they did with that one, because I think they're trying to tackle kind of anthology within that world now, and they've kind of touched on the fact that they're like descended from the Knight St. George from the old lore, and so they're actually
That's in Utah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a big castle in
yeah.
southern Utah.
But they are finally actually fighting dragons, which they've only kind of mentioned, and so it's super cool kind of seeing them tackle a fresh concept in this book, because I love the book, but it's getting a little formulaic in places sometimes, and so this is a fresh kind of take on like mythos, I guess.
And you're usually like indie anthology horror type stuff, right?
Yeah, a lot of recommendations from Greg, and then just stuff that seems like it would pique my interest.
Right on. So House of Slaughter, and speaking of Comic Tom, coolest cover for this book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've seen the Comic Tom.
I want one
cover.
time.
Oh no.
It is really cool. It has this main character holding a shield, and you kind of see Erica Slaughter's reflection in the shield. It's a Davy Mack cover.
Oh,
Oh,
I
nice.
mean, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, here's your piece of candy. Go back to work. Go.
I'll have to track that down and throw that out. That is a super cool cover.
Kid'll do anything for a butterscotch.
Aw. Just got to pick a little lint off it.
Yeah,
pull it
yeah.
out of your
You
pocket,
get it out of my
just
purse.
Pick your lint
you
off
know.
of it.
Oh, you're the hard candy, man. You want to
All
work?
right.
I pay him with hard candy. Yeah. That sounded creepier than it
A
should
little
have.
bit, yeah.
Okay.
So by the time this comes out, your cell will be over.
Yes, it will. And I will be
This comes out Monday.
hopefully well rested, because I will actually get a day off this week.
Nice.
It's your Sunday, and I'm on a day off for a couple of weeks. I'm tired.
Not me. I'm professional DMing all weekend. Running D&D
And
games.
sending people messages
Yes,
on Facebook.
Facebook. And it's funny to me that you still have about half of that large collection that you
I
haven't
know,
even gone
man. I
through yet.
still I just get through
So
like
many
boxes, man. You know, I get through boxes. There were like 140 boxes out of that thing, man.
That's
And it
insane.
was nuts, man. I mean, like, you know, a lot of these stuff I'm separating, taking duplicates, you know, selling duplicates online, or putting them in, you know, grab bag packs, or, you know what I mean, whatever. I'm taking the duplicates out. So all these have been gone through.
Oh, okay.
You know, they're just not out yet. So, you know, with the sale, we're trying to pull all the tags and make sure everything gets back out there. So when we do go through these boxes one at a time, we're not duplicating stuff, and we have room to put everything out that we need to. So there is a method to my madness. There's just more madness than method right now.
Like, and this was, I mean, you've done the half off sale. Like, you do that a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And
This was-
typically,
this was right after the last one.
typically what happens is you have the half off sale. A lot of us hit the boxes the first week, and then it gets kind of slim pickings from there on out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was like every week we'd come in here and there was new really cool stuff to see and
Yep.
grab, and there's
Yep.
still more in the boxes, which
Yeah.
is insane.
I mean, yeah, we're, you know. Plus, we had that big Golden Age collection.
Yeah.
You know, with all the Tarzans and all the Disney stuff, and
There's still, I was
You know, a bunch
noticing
of gold
yesterday
key
there's a
stuff.
bunch of really cool Golden Age stuff out there right now.
Yeah.
There was
yeah,
10-cent Superboy out there yesterday. Like the kind of stuff that you just don't see.
That's DC.
Like-
That's CD Comics knockoff of Superboy. It's 10-cent Superboy. That's what they call him.
10-cent Superboy.
It's like dollar store Superboy.
All
Big
right.
Lots discount Superboy.
So a couple things coming up. C3 is about to kick off for the season. Rob's Fat Stacks. Go check out his channel.
Mr. White.
All of the Ron White. He's going to do a charity auction for us. November 12th.
Oh, right there.
Little
There.
Captain Electric.
Ron Wright. Not Ron White.
Ron White.
Wright.
Ron Wright.
There you go. Ron White's a comedian.
Captain Electric. Captain Electric's going to be out at the show. He's going to do a live Whatnot auction. So sign up to Whatnot. Subscribe to Captain Electric on there so that you can help us raise funds for the charity. It's going to be here in Utah, November 12th. Greg's going to be there.
Bring some stuff up to sell.
I think we should. Do a live, maybe short podcast from the event.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
I think that would be really cool.
If the Bleak Haven guys get that cover done, which they said they will,
We'll have a con exclusive
we'll have a con
with
exclusive
both artists there.
with both artists there, or at least my daughter and then me. So 1.5 artists. She's
Well,
an artist.
one of
I'm not
them's
sure
an
I
artist.
am. Yeah.
Very
So,
cool
yeah,
stuff.
There you go, man. We got your homage cover with Josh Brolin. I am tired, huh? There's just strange references
Time for
that
a
are
day
being
off.
thrown out.
I mean, the C3 event's going to be really cool.
It's gonna be fun.
Got
We-
Doug Wagner coming out.
Yeah, Chris Hoffman's gonna come up.
Chris is going to be there.
Um,
The Wasatch Wonder guy.
Russ Richards is looking into it. He'd like to come up.
Yasmin
he's-
Tatiana.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good.
Like everybody, this is what I think's cool. Everybody that has ever done anything on a Bleak Haven comic book is going to be there.
That's gonna be cool.
Like the entire crew.
That's awesome.
We got the writer, the colorist, the artist, the letterer,
Nice.
the cover artist, the other cover artist, like
Me,
the other cover artist,
my daughter,
the other
the
cover artist. And they're all going to be out there sitting right next to Doug Wagner, and the students from DHEC are going to be there.
It's gonna be fun.
Learning from the pros. It's going to be a good time.
Kat will be there eating her gendered candy, her Hershey's.
And it's going to be just an
That was
old-fashioned.
dumb. That was funny.
It's going to be an old-fashioned gymnasium comic book show,
Yes.
like the kind that you just don't see anymore. There's not going to be.
With candy.
There's not going to be the people selling Hobbit feet, and
No. There's
actually,
no,
I might invite her because she's a good buddy of mine. So.
Hobbit feet, Holly, or whatever her name is.
There's a young lady that sells like Hogwarts watches and wands and that kind of cool geek stuff. There's going to be a toy vendor there. I just booked a toy vendor.
Cool.
They're going to have some cool superhero toys. And
Right on.
something
Yeah,
like
it's
this.
gonna be fun. I think we're gonna have a good time.
Remember those old gymnasium cons? That's where I first met Stan Lee. Was at a gym con.
Man, I just remember the gymnasium stuff because I'm from Utah, where you would play basketball at church, and then there's a wedding, and then sometimes they forget to put the basketball standards up, and then there's just annoying people at the wedding, like wadding up napkins and trying to make baskets and shit like that. And because I spend a lot of time at the churches.
Interesting true story, bro. My church basketball coach was Jay Collins, the guy that created Flying J gas stations.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they call him Flying J because he could dunk?
I don't think you can get that man up 4 inches off the ground.
Wait, you used to play basketball?
I used to play basketball.
So did I.
Now I hate the sport. All right, so remember to tune in every Wednesday where we come to you live right here from Black Hat Comics for New Comic Book Day Live. We run down the wall, show you all the new books. If you can't be here live with us, catch it on the rewind, and you can do that by comment, and subscribing. Make sure you ring the bell.
Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, and like and subscribe.
That way you won't miss out on any of our content. See you later, traders.
Bell.